When I first started filming YouTube videos, I didn't really have any equipment, I just couldn't afford it. So I had to begin with what I already had, which for some reason was an Amazon tripod. I don't know why I bought that Amazon tripod, but there it was. So I started using that, and that's all I had at the very beginning. Actually, that's what I'm filming on right now because my budget hasn't really increased. You don't get paid an awful lot off of like 30 views a video, unfortunately. One day I'll be able to afford something a bit more fancy. What I did manage to buy eventually though was a Joby Gorillapod. As I got into the video making a little bit more, I did a bit of research as to what other people on YouTube were using to film their videos. Not just cameras, but equipment and the like. And that's how I came across the Gorillapod. So the Gorillapod comes in a few different sizes. The main difference, I think, is just the weight that each size Gorillapod can hold. And it's basically a tripod, but the great thing about it is the legs. The legs are bendy. And so what that means is that you can use the sort of like customizable nature of them to bend them into all sorts of positions and get some really cool angles for shots. Another cool thing that comes from these flexible legs is that you can bend them around things. So you can bend them around, say, a shelf to film from the shelf and it will just grip on, or bend them around another surface that you want to film from. So the one that I got only cost about 34 quid. Neither that's really good value for something that you can use for such a variety of shots, angles of shots, heights of shots. I don't actually use the Gorillapod to film the bulk of my talking segments just because it's kind of unnecessary. All I need is like a really still shot. My camera's just sitting on a tripod right now. It doesn't need to move, doesn't need to do anything cool. But what I have been using it for specifically is to film B-roll, and it's really increased the variety and type of B-roll that I can film. Also, just having a tripod, I think this is like camera science, but I might be wrong. I think holding a camera on a tripod rather than holding it directly in your hand actually lessens the quiver that you get from your hand, because when you hold stuff in your hands they shake a bit and they give you kind of quaky footage. So I strap it into my Gorillapod before I film any kind of B-roll. Another added benefit to the Gorillapod, separate from filming altogether, is that I think it's probably covered the cost I paid for it alone just from my using it to do video calls. So obviously video calls on my phone. Most of the time when I'm doing video calls, it's just on my phone because I don't use video calls for work or anything. And the difference, like, you might not think it'd make a big difference, but the difference between having something that you can just strap your phone into and there you go, you don't need to lean it precariously against a surface, a wall, or stack it on top of some books or anything. It just makes it so much simpler. You also don't have to worry about any kind of ugly angles where, you know, you're there filming, talking to your mate, and you realise all of a sudden you're at an angle where you've got like a ridiculous double chin. I kind of wish that I didn't do that now, but there you go, you got to see my double chin today, if you didn't get anything else. For a beginning video creator, I highly recommend grabbing a Gorillapod if you can afford one, either as your actual tripod to film your talking or whatever you're filming on, or just, I guess, like your B-roll as like a side thing, just to mix things up a little bit. As I said, mine was like a little over £30. I think the payload is 1 kilogram, which means that it can carry my phone and it can also carry a slightly heavier DSLR camera like my M50.